Today I'm going to show you how to make this vegetable storage unit. It's got a lift up lid and removable storage crates. And this particular project was a request from a subscriber called Susan, who got in touch with me by email, and she described what she wanted. And this was my suggestion, which she was happy with, so if there's anything you would like, do get in touch, and I will do my best to include a tutorial. And for this project I've used again a beche wood in 1.5 millimeters or 1/16 of an inch. It's a nice soft wood, very easy to use and to cut with a craft knife. The craft knife I've used is a Swan Morton, which has a 10A blade. Always put a new blade in at the start of a project, or if it begins to catch or drag on the wood, which means it's becoming blunt. A pencil, obviously for marking the wood, keep it nice and sharp for accurate marking. A steel ruler, which you use obviously for measurements and for cutting the wood, along with the craft knife. My favourite glue, Gorilla Wood glue. It bonds really quickly, and it's suitable. It's called wood glue, but it's actually suitable for a lot of uses. I use it for fabric even. Brilliant glue. Cocktail sticks, which I use to apply the glue and for cleaning glue from joins, and I just use a piece of card to dispense my glue onto. Makes it easier to apply. Flathead screwdriver, which we're going to use to create a groove in the edge of the piece, just to create a nice decoration there. An eraser, getting rid of your pencil marks before you varnish. Varnish, this is just a normal interior varnish, and I've used a medium oak. You don't have to varnish it, you could leave it natural wood, and then you could just apply a clear wax at the end. For the baskets, again they're made from wood, and then we cover them with cord, and I've done a plait around the outside just to add a bit of detail. And the cord is a 1mm waxed cord, available from most craft places, or just search eBay. And I've used embroidery floss then for the plait around the outside, but you could use any sort of cotton that matches the colour of your cord. And then for the hinges here, I've actually just used card, and that's a thick black card. I've used a piece of scrapbooking card. It's embossed, but I just used a plain piece from along the edge. So anything you might have in stock, any sort of black card. And then again, the wording is optional. I think it looks quite nice with the wording. And I've used water slide transfers, and I'll talk to you more about those when we get to that stage in the tutorial. But you could use the Letraset letters, which I used for the bread bin tutorial. So if you just pop down and have a look at that one. Or you could, if you've got nice handwriting, you could even paint the wording on. Okay, let's get started. We're going to begin by scoring a groove down the centre of the side piece. Now in the cutting list I advise to cut this piece so that the shortest edge is in the direction of the grain, and that's so that we can score the groove down the shorter edge. You can't score grooves against the direction of the grain, so that's just why I advised you to do that. So begin by making a pencil mark at the top and bottom of the longest edge in the centre. So in this case that's 10.5 millimeters. And then to make the groove we're going to use a flathead screwdriver, and this is the smallest one in my set. I'm just going to use the very corner of the screwdriver head. So use your second side piece just as a prop for the ruler, so that it doesn't rock about as you're doing it, and line the ruler up so it's just below those pencil marks you've just made. And that's just to cater for the thickness of the screwdriver. And then make a very, very faint score and then just go across a couple more times, applying a little bit more pressure, and that'll just help keep the screwdriver on track. And then take a small piece of sandpaper and make a nice sharp crease, and then you can just work it along that groove just to tidy up those edges. Okay, it's already done the other piece, so both side pieces have now got a central groove. I'll just pop those to one side and take the 4 leg pieces. I'm just going to make pencil marks on each leg, and I made a note here of where they should be. So start with the first leg and just lay it alongside the ruler, and the first one should be at 36.5 millimeters, and that's 1 7/16 of an inch. And then the second mark should be at 54 millimeters from this top, what we're calling the top edge, so 54 millimeters, and that's 2 1/8 of an inch. And the final pencil mark at 72 millimeters, and that's 2 7/8 of an inch. So you're making 3 pencil marks and measuring from this top edge 36.5 millimeters, 54 millimeters, and 72 millimeters, and that's 1 7/16 of an inch, 2 1/8 of an inch, and 2 7/8 of an inch. So do that on all 4 leg pieces. Okay, so take 2 of the leg pieces and you want a side piece, and then 3 of the side support pieces, which are these smaller pieces, and we're going to glue them between the 2 legs. So I've got some glue here I've just dispensed onto a piece of card. I'm going to apply the glue to each side of all of these pieces. So that's the shorter side of the side pieces, and the same with these side supports. Okay, so the side piece should be in line with the top of that leg, so just push that into place, and then each of these supports should sit just above that pencil mark so that the bottom is sort of in line with the pencil mark. And then we can attach the remaining leg. And then just carefully manoeuvre those side supports so that they're again in line with those pencil marks. And very carefully just press that together. And that can then just be left at one side to dry, and then you want to create the second side. So the same as we've just done, to make a second side piece. So once the glue has dried, you can erase the pencil marks, and then just use a finer grade sandpaper, and you can just go over the whole piece, and that'll just flatten any edges and make a nice flush side. And you can do that on the back as well. Okay, so now we're going to cut a diagonal to make the slope for the lid. So take one of the pieces and you want to make a pencil mark on one of the legs. So from the top, 11mm or 7/16 of an inch from that top. Just make a little pencil mark there. And then when we cut, we're going to cut not from the corner, so not from the top of the leg, but from the top of the side piece. So we want this back leg to remain straight, and we're going from the top corner of the side piece. So position your ruler so that it's just below where you want to cut, and that caters for the thickness of the knife, and just below the pencil line. And then make that diagonal cut. And then we want to do the same on the other piece, but as a mirror image. So we want it to go this way. So you want to do your pencil mark 11mm from the top of this leg. And again, we're going from the top of the side piece. We want to leave the top of that back leg straight and intact. Position the ruler just below where you want to be. And make the cut. And it will be tougher to cut through because we're going at a strange angle across the grain. Oops. And then you can just tidy up that cut. Okay, so we've got two opposite diagonal cuts. Okay, so take, which will then become the left-hand side piece of the unit, and we're just going to attach the back piece. So just apply glue along the short edge of the back piece. And then you want to attach it so it's flush at the top of that back leg. Just press those together until the glue begins to take. And then you want to take 3 back supports and just apply glue to one edge at the moment. And you need to attach that so that it's level with the one already in place on the side. The same with the remaining 2. Okay, so use a clean cocktail stick just to remove any excess glue from along the join. and then that piece can just be left to dry. Okay, so we're now going to attach the top piece, which is this very narrow piece here. So apply glue to one short edge and the long edge. And you want to make sure this piece is flush with the top of the joined pieces. So you've got the nice flat edge at the top. So that's flush with the top of that back leg and the top of the back piece. And then take one of your shelf pieces and then this piece you want to make sure is level with the bottom of this back piece and the bottom of the side piece. And then at this stage you can bring in the side piece and it squares the whole thing up. I call this a shelf piece, but it's actually the bottom. And then there are 3 shelves, but they're all the same size, so it doesn't really matter. And we're going to work downwards now with our shelf pieces. And again, these should be level with the bottom of those supports at the back and the side. So once all of your shelves are in place, I have a piece that looks like this. I'm going to now attach the front piece, which will sit at the top of that top shelf and towards the front so that it's flush. So again, apply glue to one short edge and one long edge. We now want to apply glue to all of these outside edges, and we're going to attach the other side piece. A bit more glue on there. So keep the piece on its side, then just take the remaining side piece and lay it on, lining it up at the top first, and then just work your way down, making sure that that leg is flush at the front and that all of the shelf pieces are aligned with the side supports. And this is a bit tricky because you're doing sort of quite a lot of things at once. But you've got a bit of time before the glue begins to take, so you can just manoeuvre it into place. and just look around the whole piece and just make sure that everything is where it should be. And then you can sort of start pressing it together to make the glue take. And I'm just going to use some masking tape around the side to hold it down. And you can use clamps, but I advise masking tape with something like this because it's quite fragile. And just pop a piece around the top edge there. I'm going to put another piece around the bottom. Just move those shells back into the correct position. And once you've applied the tape, just make sure that everything's staying where it should. And if not, just lift it up and reposition it all. And there's some excess glue in there as well, just get rid of that. And then once again, that can just be left to dry. And we'll move on to the next stage. So take the lid back piece, and this is the piece that will sit on the top there, and just take a sort of medium grained sandpaper, and you just want to curl over or round over two corners along one long edge. So you're just pulling the sandpaper over the corner and just creating a slightly rounded edge. Like so, and that will then become the back edge. So apply glue to the top of the unit. And then just glue that piece into place. And the front edge of it should be flush with the front edge of that top piece, and so that there's just an even overhang at either side. And then you've just got a bit of a lip along the back edge there. And I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape to hold that into place. So take the lid piece, and we're just going to bevel one edge, which will just help it to open more smoothly. And to do that, just hold it against a sheet of sandpaper at a 45-degree angle and just sweep it towards you. And there, as you can see, that's just created a nice bevel along that edge, and that edge will go towards the top. And then putting the lid into position, so you've just got a slight opening in front of that lid back piece, just make a pencil mark where the side grooves are, and we're just going to do a groove in the lid that will be in the same position as the side groove. So just make a pencil mark there, and at the other side as well, level with that side groove. And the same thing again, we're going to use the screwdriver and ruler just to score that into the wood. So just place the ruler slightly below the pencil mark, and just a light score to start, and just two more, slightly more pressure. And then just take a piece of sandpaper and carefully carefully sand along the groove. And that just makes a nice feature. So the wording on your vegetable unit is optional, and there are a couple of ways you can do it, and I'm actually going to use water slide transfers, and it's an inkjet paper that you can print onto using a program like Illustrator or Word or Excel. And I make quite a few veg units, so I've got a whole sheet done up that I sort of cut into as I need them. But you could also use letter-set letters that I've used in another of my projects if you want to have a look at my other videos, or any sort of stickers you might have. I'm using the water slide transfers, and they've been soaking here in the water for a few minutes, and then I've just made a pencil mark in the centre of where I want to place the transfer. And I'm just using tweezers to handle it, and then I'm just going to, so it's still quite wet, just dripping off the excess, and then just put it into place at the front there. And then before it sort of dries, you can just reposition it. And then just use a piece of dry kitchen towel to press that into place. And I am going to be varnishing the unit, and these can be varnished over, and it also helps to keep them in place. There's the front piece there. And then I'm going to put another one on the lid, and again I've made a pencil mark in the centre just to help place it. Just slide that on. Needs to go up slightly on that side. And just dry that off. So the lid and the unit I'm going to varnish separately, and then we'll attach the lid at the end. You can use like a wood stain, any sort of interior varnish, or you could use a wood dye, or you might just want to leave it natural, and you could treat it then with a clear wax. So once the unit and the lid are varnished, we want to attach the lid, so we're going to make some hinges. For the hinges I've just used a thick black card, and this is actually a scrapbooking paper. As you can see, it's got an embossed pattern on it, but I've just cut away from the plain black card at the edge. So any sort of thick card, not paper, but something a little bit thicker. And then I've just cut away a strip of plain card, and then I've cut two pieces measuring 13mm by 6mm, so that's about 1/4 of an inch by 1/2 an inch. And then just make a mark 3mm along each long edge, and this is just to make a flat part for the hinge which goes on the top of the unit. And then fold that up against the edge of the ruler, so that was 3mm or 1/8 of an inch. So fold it up against the edge and then fold it backwards to create a nice crease, and then just make a pencil mark in the centre at the bottom, and then you want to cut diagonally from that bottom mark up to the crease, up to the edge of the crease. So we're creating a nice sort of hinge shape. Turn it around and do the other side. like that. Just snip away a bit more from that side. Okay, so you need to make 2 of those, and then make a pencil mark at the top of the unit, and again about 3mm or 1/8 of an inch from either edge. So just a faint pencil mark. And we're going to place the hinges on the inside of each of those marks. So apply glue to the back, and I want this embossed side. You probably can't see it on the camera, but I want the embossed side at the front. And then you want to apply just that flat part to the top of the unit. I'm just going to press that down, and just on the inside of that pencil mark. Just use the cocktail stick to press that down, and do the second one. And again on the inside of that pencil mark. It's a bit tricky, but once you've got it there you can just manoeuvre it into place with the cocktail stick. And then just carefully lift up those flaps. You might need to put a little bit more glue on if it took you longer than you thought to just place them. And then bring your lid and just push it up, just so that there's a slight gap between it and the lid back, and then just stick down the hinges. And again, you've got time before the glue completely dries to manoeuvre them a bit if you think they don't look quite straight. Just press them down. I'm just going to use the other end of this cocktail stick to remove the excess glue. And you can buy these hinges as well, sort of black iron effect hinges. I like to make as much as I can, so come up with this card idea. And then let the glue dry off a bit, and then just check that the lid is opening. You may not want to open it, or you might just want to prop it open and put something inside. And then just as a little finishing touch, I'm using this scribe, but you could use anything with a pointed end, even a pin, and just make some nail marks, or screw marks rather, at the top of the hinge. So one either side, and then you come down to the bottom and just do one just before the pointed end. And that's the unit part completed. And next we'll make the baskets. Okay, so we're now going to make the baskets. I'm going to begin by attaching the side pieces to the outer edges of the base piece. So apply glue along each edge of the base piece. press the side pieces into place, making sure that the front and back is flush with the front and back edges of the base. And that can just be left to dry. And I've got one here that I made earlier, so it's dry. If you handle them before the glue's dry, they just fall apart. And then apply glue along the front and back edges. And attach the front and back pieces. Just making sure that the sides are flush with the side pieces. And just squeeze those together. And again, that can be left until it's completely dry. And then when it is, you'll have a nice flush box piece here. And then you can just sand it on all sides, just to get rid of any overhanging edges, and the top and bottom as well. So just hold it against the paper, nice small circular motions. I've already done this one, so I won't do it again because it's not a very nice sound. And then along the sides, just in the one direction, so that it doesn't round the corners. And then just using the same colour you used for your unit, just paint the inside of each one, or varnish or stain. If you're keeping it natural, then wait until we've completed the baskets before just putting a bit of wax inside. And you want to get around these edges because they'll still be visible once we've made the basket. And don't worry about going over the front edges, they'll all be covered with our cord. Okay, so once the varnish inside the basket has dried, we can add the cord. So just tuck your fingers inside and apply glue to all outside edges. And then take the end of the cord and just attach it to what will become the back of the crate or the basket. And so that it's just along that bottom edge. Just press that into place. And then holding that piece in place, just start winding the cord around, keeping it quite tight. And it is quite tricky getting started, so just take your time. And then you want to go underneath that piece and keep holding it. And then just continue going round, keeping each row as close to the previous one as you can. And I've made quite a few of these, so I'm probably going quite quick. But take your time with it, and if you need to apply a bit more glue, if the glue starts drying off at the top, just hold the basket like that and just apply a bit more, and then just continue around. Nearly there. And get the cord as high up as you can. and it doesn't matter where you fasten it off because we're not going to see this top layer, so just go around until you sort of can't fit it anymore, and then just snip that off. Again, I'm holding it in place, fingers there, and then just apply a bit more glue to the end and glue that down. And then you can press all of the cord against the box. And don't worry if you've got any glue showing, because that will just dry off and dry clear. Okay, so that's the back where we started, where we joined the cord. Now to finish the basket, we just do a plait around the top, and I've used this linen embroidery floss in a similar colour to my cord, and I've used 9 pieces about 200mm or 8 inches long, and then separated them into 3 strands of 3. Tie a knot in the end. If you've got someone to hold that, all well and good. If not, you could secure that to your work mat with a bulldog clip or a clamp or something, and just make that into a plait. And if you use the cord, just bear in mind that the plait is going to be a lot thicker and it might not fit into the unit, so try and use something quite fine. If you haven't got embroidery floss, any sort of cotton or very thin wool or something, but nothing that's going to add too much width to the basket. Okay, so I've made my plait here, and then just remember which is the back, because that's where we want the plait to join. Keep all the sort of untidy joins at the back. So just apply glue around the top, just around that first row of cord. And then just attach the roughly centre of the plait at the front of the basket, and just press it into place so it's level with the top. And again, don't worry about the excess glue because that will just dry off clear. And then bring it round the side, and the other side, and then take one strand around the back into the middle, and then you can snip that off. Press that down, and then bring this other piece around and just trim that off, level with that other piece. And you might just need a little bit more glue. And just glue that down. And there's our finished basket. I'm just going to pop that into the unit. There. There's the completed unit. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If so, please do subscribe to my channel, as there's lots more to come. And if there's something you'd like me to make for you, do get in touch, like Susan did, and I'll do a tutorial for you. Might be something that you would really like in your doll's house but haven't been able to buy anywhere, haven't seen anywhere. And I'll do my best to include it here on my channel. And if you do like making doll's house furniture, you might like to check out my books. This is my first book, Doll's House Furniture Projects in 1/12 scale. And I've also done a book of kitchen furniture. And all of the projects are nice, easy to follow, step-by-step tutorials. Both books are available from Amazon. Just go onto Amazon and type step-by-step Julie Warren in the search box, and that will bring this one up, and then you'll be able to link also to the kitchen book. So, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and hopefully see you again soon.